So we're going to kind of review debugging. I think you guys are familiar with this a little bit already, hopefully. Um, Up on the toolbar, you'll notice that it is in debug mode. That is where it is by default. And what we are going to do is we're going to set a breakpoint. So what a breakpoint does is it basically halts the execution until you tell it to proceed forward. And we are going to put one right on this right line. So this is the location that we want the breakpoint to go. So I'm going to click over here to the left of the number. And you'll notice it puts a little red dot there. Okay, that is the breakpoint itself. And then I want to run this in debug mode. So I can press F5 or I can go into the debug menu and I can start with debugging. And what it should do is prompt me for my name because that's above the breakpoint. So I'm going to put it in, press enter. Okay, and now it has hit the breakpoint itself. Now, if we come down at the bottom and we look at the local window, okay, it's showing us the values that it has in the name variable and the current date. Okay, so it's actually showing us what is stored. That's kind of the nice thing about the breakpoints, especially if you need to debug, right? You can set those breakpoints and then you can check to see what values are actually being stored. Now, if you want to actually interact with this and change some of the values, you can use your intermediate window. And in the intermediate window, I can actually change the name and changing it to anything but Lisa. So we'll go with Cooper, my dog. Okay. And you'll notice it's a string, so I put it in double quotes. I'm going to press enter. Okay, so now I said name equal Cooper, and you'll notice over in locals, it's storing Cooper now. Now I can do something similar for the date. This is going to take a lot more typing, but I can say current date equals date time dot parse. And then in parentheses and double quotes, I'm going to give it the century year. And I don't care what year you guys put in there. And a month and a date. And then you can do a T for time and you can put in whatever time you want using a 24-hour clock. And so that would be the format we have to put it in. And we have to indicate that this is universal time. Nope, that did not take it. So all right, so I keyed all that in, gonna press enter. Hopefully didn't miskey anything. And it did take my time. Okay, so if I want to continue from this point, what I can do is I can go up to debug and I can choose continue, or I can simply press F5. Okay, so you can see my original value, then I went into intermediate and changed it. And obviously this is not the date today, but you can kind of see what day I'm working with down here. And then I'm going to go ahead and exit out. Now, in addition to a regular breakpoint, you can also do a conditional breakpoint. Okay, and I do know in our JavaScript class we covered this, so I believe you have gotten this in a couple different classes. So this is just a little bit of a review, but knowing these debugging techniques is super helpful. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click on this little dot. Okay, that gives you a menu. And then you're going to choose conditions. And conditions should be checked. We've got conditional expression is true. And the sample code is checking to see if X is 5. But that's actually not what we wanted to check. So we are going to check to see if name is empty. Because if name is empty, then that is a bit of a problem for us. So if this is true, if name is empty, if the name is empty, then it's just going to do a break. Now, if we wanted some kind of action, we could display a message. We could actually create a hit count variable and increment the variable. There's a lot of different things that we could do here. Just to start with, though, we'll just leave that condition in. And then we can close this. Okay, and then when we run, okay, if we put something in here, like Fred Flintstone or whatever, it's not going to hit the breakpoint, okay, because it's not empty. But if we run this and we don't enter anything, now it's hit the breakpoint. Okay, and you can see the name is empty. Now, if we want to just have it continue, remember, we can just go to debug and continue or just press F5. And it looks like they did want us to verify that it was empty, so we'll go ahead and do that just because this is so much fun. So we're going to start it again. We're going to go ahead and make it empty. So here we go. In our intermediate window, we're going to ask, is the name equal to string.empty? And if it comes, it should come back with true because it is empty. And it did. Okay, and so we'll go ahead and continue. And then we can exit out of here. And then to get rid of the breakpoint, we can just simply click on it. Okay, so clicking on it adds it, clicking on it removes it. A final way we're going to talk about debugging is by stepping into the code. And basically, it goes line by line. And then you'll be able to look down in the windows and see what the values are as you are executing each line of the code. So you can either press F11 or debug and step into. Okay, so you can see it's on the first line of our main method. And you can see at this point, the string arguments has nothing in it. The name is null and it's got a bogus date. Now to move it forward, you either press F11, okay, or you can actually use these little commands up here. Okay, step over actually skips lines, but this command, this little arrow, is the same thing as pressing F11. Okay, that takes you to the next line. And so nothing yet because we haven't typed anything in. Let's go ahead and press that again. And now it's going to read the line, which is actually empty. Let's put a name in here. And so now that we've entered something, you should be able to see that a value is being stored. And we'll go ahead and continue stepping in. And now you can see the date. Let's continue stepping. And there we go. All right, so again, if we wanted to do this, we get into step into, and it starts here. You know, you can go through a couple of lines, and then there is a step out and a step over. Step over is really designed to skip over a line, a function, or a section of code. Okay, and it'll get you through faster. And if you do step out, it actually takes you all the way out. So, you know, if you get into this step into and you're like, okay, I just need to be done, you can just do the step out. So after we compile and test the debug version, they do recommend changing it to release and then doing a little build here to compile the release version. And so when I chose build, it didn't really work. So I'm going to do a rebuild here. And you do want to see that it succeeded. Okay. And as long as it succeeded, then you should be able to go ahead and run this without debugging. So start without debugging. Okay, and you should notice this output from Visual Studio is a little bit different because now this is the release version.